So before Watchmen, the first issue I believe came out a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
What was it like to work on Watchmen back in the day with Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons?
It was interesting. And I don't need it in any other aspect except working with that one's always interesting. I've never, ever in my life seen more meticulous scripts. And by that I mean detail-oriented. He types to the edge of the paper. He's weird that way.
So every space is...
Yeah, every space is filled. But there were mostly 9-panel grids, specifically.
Okay.
And every panel would be written up in meticulous detail. On the corner of the desk, there's a cigarette half smoked. Over there, the copy of this magazine.
Wow.
Over this, and you go on and explain the room. There's a copy in that corner. Over there's something else. There's this. And then at the end, he would end every panel with, "But if that doesn't work for you, just do what you think is right."
After you went into all that detail.
Effort.
Okay.
So the scripts would come in for essentially a 26-page story, and about 147 pages.
Whoa.
You know, novels I read that are shorter than Alan's scripts. And now I'll get into stuff too, where you just start writing odd little things.
Oh, I got on tangents.
Yeah, well, he does a Swamp Thing issue where he starts talking about a guy who's dead, and over here he's now, you know, basically bug food, but now the bugs are getting divorced, so they don't care about him anymore. And it was just to be entertaining, and to the point where for a very long time I had a rule since I had brought Alan over. I get copies of every script he writes, whether they're from me or not. Because I just love the stuff in the art descriptions is every bit as entertaining as the material for what you're going to see. But nobody ever sits down to assume we're putting together a masterpiece. You know, those happen by accident. And it was. I mean, I've never agreed with his ending.
Right.
I'm notorious for that publicly, and I don't think it's a good ending. I think everything up to it's great, brilliant, astonishing. But when he told me the ending, I said, it's wonderful, but it's been done.
Yeah, tries to make it fresh.
It's an episode of The Outer Limits called The Architects of Fear. That's exactly what this is. He says, yeah, well, I've never done it. I said, that doesn't make any difference. Somebody has done it. Don't do the same ending. But I moved to LA from New York about 2/3 of the way through the project, so they put a new editor on it, and no one else but me ever had the nerve to say to Alan, no, don't do that.
Aha.
I had kicked back several issues of Swamp Thing, not because nothing ever turned out was bad per se, but because it wasn't right for this reason. After I left and Karen Berger became the editor, all of those stories that I rejected ended up seeing print. But that's showbiz.
It happens.
Mm-hmm.
When Before Watchmen was announced, there were people that were excited, but obviously because there's the internet and people have opinions, the naysayers.
Yeah, amoebas have opinions on the
Yes,
internet.
everybody, and they're loud about it, especially when they dislike it. Was it really frustrating that people wouldn't even give it a chance before they just got so irate about it?
Oh, hell no.
No.
I'm their loss, not mine.
That is a very good attitude to have about it.
You know, people would say, well, what could you do with Alan's story? And I always remember the wonderful line from James M. Cain, who, when they ask, what do you think about what Hollywood did to your books, like, The Postman Always Swings Twice, or Mildred Pierce, or any of those? He said, what are you talking about? My books are on the shelf over there, just the way I wrote them.
That's what gets me out of it. It still exists. It
Yeah.
doesn't affect what you read and
Doesn't
loved.
affect it.
Yeah.
The Watchmen is there. You don't want to read our stuff, your loss.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't usually take that sort of attitude, but I have never seen a group of people work harder to try to be as good as the other people they're working with. No one's trying to beat anybody. We're just all happy if people look at our books and go, well, that one doesn't suck, like that one's great.
Yeah, you're trying to provide quality stuff, sure.
Everybody is busting their chops. I mean, Joe Straczynski's been doing things with Dr. Manhattan and going, how do you get out of that? He says, read the next issue. He's doing a book about quantum mechanics and physics, and it's perfect. It's wonderful.
And I believe you chose the stories you were writing, right? So you chose Ozymandias, and you chose...
Actually, no, I was offered Ozzy, and I was offered the Tales of the Black Freighter. And I thought about it for a minute or two and said, I'll take Ozzy. I just like the character. And I've always loved the name.
Yes.
But but I don't think I want to do a Black Friday. He said, why not? I said, well, the whole idea at DC in this fictitious, you said it on that word, fictitious universe, is that because they were really superheroes as a genre died early on. So why don't we do, I'm sorry, he keeps coming from places. Phantom dog. Why don't we do a different pirate book? Why don't we do one of the other ones? And he said, oh, that's great. So I came up with, almost on the spot, The Curse of the Crimson Corsair. Not knowing what I was going to do for the story, but I thought it was a cool name.
It is very.
So we decided to do that instead. And it was Dan's idea to do it as 2 pages. Since we couldn't do what Alan had done, which is weave it into the story, we just decided to weave it through the series. So there's 2 pages in every book. He suggested John Higgins for the art. We had worked with John on the original. John was the colorist. I had no idea he was as good a artist as he is. He's doing amazing. Also the coloring is this. It's the kind of muted, limited palette this is. So that's how I ended up doing the second one. The worst part is when you're me, is being me. One night I had insomnia about a month ago, and I'm laying there in bed at 3 in the morning. And I went, you know, if we're doing a whole line of comics, there should be a whole line of comics. So I put together a house ad for the entire line of DC pirate comics. So you will see the cover, I think in the epilogue issue, there, if everything comes off as we're supposed to, you will see a 2-page ad for all the other comics that were out in that universe.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
okay.
yeah. Best ideas at 3 a.m. in the morning
Yeah.
sometimes. And what other projects do you have on the horizon besides Before Watchmen?
No, before, that's plenty.
Which is, and yes,
I'm working with James, plenty. I have a story coming out, I think this year's Treehouse of Horror,
Oh,
Simpsons.
sure.
My second one, I've written about a half dozen Simpsons issues. This is my second Treehouse. Dan Brereton and I are doing a Cthulhu story together
Excellent.
called Cthulhu, Gesundheit. So that's either this year's or next year's annual. I've got the Doctor Who story, which is called In Fez Station, which
Nice.
is this year's annual. Which I love the fact my old friend Matt Smith is drawing the Matt Smith Doctor.
That's perfect.
Isn't that cool?
And is your story 11th Doctor story?
Yeah.
Go with the Fez. It
So,
has to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Fez is our bow ties.
Yep, so are both
I'm
ties.
still on the thin spot cowboy hat though.
It was fun. But I like Fez's book. If anyone had told me 10 years ago that my favorite science fiction series would end up being Doctor Who, I'd have punched him.
Boy, it changed. Yeah.
Boy, did
so
it change,
much.
and it's just so good. But anyway, so I'm doing the Doctor Who story. I'm writing episodes of Beware the Batman. I've got at least 2 or 3 more Ben 10s that haven't come out yet, so that'll be coming out. And I just pitched a couple of new ideas for new series to DC a con or 2 ago, so we'll wait to
So
see how,
nice.
once we finish this, I don't want to do anything else until he finishes this. Or it finishes me, which is
Which could happen,
50-50
maybe?
shot.
So you're staying busy, in other words, yeah.
Yeah, God bless. And because it is Before Watchmen, I am going to more conventions this year than I've gone to
In a
in
while.
a decade, probably.
Oh
before.
wow, and that can wear you down.
Oh, it's exhausting. I turned down the week after Comic-Con a convention in Mexico City, which I've never been to. I'd have killed to go to Mexico City. But A, I expect I'll still be writing Watchmen stuff. And B, I just don't think 2 weeks in a row back to back,
No, you
I'd be exhausted.
need recovery after San
Yeah.
Diego too.
Oh God,
for
yes.
sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for being such a good helper.
My thank you.
You were great.
Yeah. I know Dexter will be your dog today.